how did you go about funding the deal?
We sold our house.
Okay. All right. That works.
Yeah. We sold our house and we've used our savings and done everything we've been able to. We've done a lot of the work ourselves. We've had friends and family helping.
You're listening to the Venue RX podcast.
What's up, everyone? Jonathan here with the Venue RX podcast, and I am really excited about today's Venue Owner Series episode. We've been going and taking a deep dive through all of these different venue owners who have been sharing their experiences with us about what it's like to run a venue and what it's like to manage their venues and just like the day-to-day things that go into that. And we've been talking about marketing and sales and operations and just everything that goes into owning a venue. And so I'm really excited today to be speaking with Helen from Brookledge in Upstate New York. Is that correct?
Correct. Yes.
Amazing. Thank you so much for being here today. And you just were telling me off air, you guys are getting a bit of a snowstorm, yes?
We are. We're supposed to be getting close to 2 feet today.
Wow. That's
yeah.
insane.
Yeah. So, but you never know. The weather, they always say like 6 inches and then it's nothing. So we're somewhere around like 10 to 18 inches. I'm hoping it's closer to 10, but
That's so cool. Hearing that and being here in Southern California, and I have this jacket on, and I thought it was a little bit cold as I was riding my motorcycle here, and no, like there's no comparison. So very very cool. Well, I'm excited to dive into your story. I know, as we talked a little bit, you had kind of an unexpected entry into this business, and so I know there's folks who listen to us that are brand new to this industry. There are folks who have been in for a while. Can you share with us, what's your backstory? How did you get started in this industry?
Yeah, so 7 years ago, we attended a wedding here. It was actually called Camp Brookledge at the time, and it was privately owned by 2 ladies, and it was no longer running girls' summer camp. So in 2011, it stopped being a girls' summer camp, and the 2 women that owned it, they just owned it for their personal use, and they would allow like friends and families to do events on the property. So we had attended a wedding for our friend, and we just fell in love with the place. It is 60 acres. There are ponds and streams that run throughout. There are multiple pavilions, cabins, a lodge, and there was just something really special about the property. And it's only 15 minutes from Saratoga. So if you're familiar with Saratoga Springs, it is a large horse racing city, and it's very touristy in the summertime, and it's just a really beautiful place. So we're only 15 minutes from there, but you feel like you're in a totally different world because it's really quiet, it's peaceful. So I didn't think anything of the place except we went to the wedding, we loved it. And at the time I was a teacher. I taught 2nd grade in Boston Spa, a local town, and my husband owns an auto repair shop, and he still does.
Okay.
For whatever reason, COVID happened, and teaching world, as many of you know, was really challenging, and I was looking to do something else. And I saw that Brookledge was on the market. I had reached out, and it was already under contract with a company from New Jersey that was going to turn it into an RV park. So we told the realtor, we said, hey, if it falls through, let us know. It fell through, and we found out in August. Within 2 weeks, we sold our house. We moved into the nurse's office, and my son thought we were crazy. And we now still live in the nurse's office. It was originally 400 square feet when we moved in. We are now closer to 700 because we added a bedroom and a bathroom. But we've been renovating all the buildings because they had been sitting since 2011. The ladies that had it didn't do a whole lot as far as fixing the buildings. So we now have 2 cabins. We have glamping tents, and the lodge is being finished as we speak.
Okay.
So originally, I don't think we knew what we wanted to do with the place, except we knew we liked it. And the original thought was that we were going to do short-term rentals, that we were going to rent the cabins and just kind of do like Airbnb kind of things. Then people saw it and they're like, oh, I would love to get married by the pond and have a party in the pavilion. The pavilion's large, it has a big fireplace, and there's another pavilion right next door that's perfect for cocktail hour. So that's kind of how it happened. Like, we had some brides that reached out to us, and we ended up with, we had 7 events last year while we were still under construction. and we have quite a few planned for next year and even into 2024.
Oh, wow.
So it wasn't the plan. I've been doing a lot of listening to podcasts. Yours was one of the first I discovered. YouTube channels, talking to anybody I could speak to that would be willing to share. And it's been a lot of learning curves, but so far everybody who's had an event has loved it, and people who've attended the events have come back and booked to do other things. So we must be doing okay.
Totally. Well, and when I looked at your website, the pictures that you have of the property are really beautiful. I mean, it's an obvious escape, and that's really cool to hear, the proximity to Saratoga and just kind of the like, you feel like you're entering a different world. And I think that experience piece is really definitely what people are looking for. It's been our experience operating the venues that we have. Like, people want an experience. People want, something that they can really go do. And actually, our director of operations, she got married at a summer camp in Idaho. So she's here in California, but found this really cool summer camp in Idaho and got all of her family and friends there. But it was a little less expensive, but again, it was that experience piece. So I feel like you're kind of tapping into that.
Yeah, and people are loving that the lodging is right here on the site, because Saratoga is a very touristic place in the summertime. It is very expensive as far as lodging. So they love that there's lodging here. They don't need to drive anywhere. Because we have 60 acres, there's a company that we work with called Glamp and what they do is they can bring additional glamping tents, set up the beds, linens, and everything. So if they need more lodging, they just work with Glamp and they bring it all to the site here. And they love, I didn't know this, but summer camp themed weddings is kind of an upcoming trend at the moment. Somebody said it was similar to how barns were maybe about 10 years ago. Now the summer camp thing is kind of picking up steam, and they love that we still have a lot of the original games and things like that. So that's been a big one. They love that the boats are still there, the dock, all the fun things about summer camp, the bathhouses. We've kept almost everything the same, except we moved one of the cabins that sits atop some boulders. That's called the cottage. There was just these 3 humongous boulders, and I thought it'd be cool to put a building on top of it. So we moved one of the cabins to that, and then we added a log cabin, something that had a little more space and room for the grooms to have a space to get ready. But other than that, the property still resembles a summer camp. It still keeps that nostalgic feel.
That's so cool. So I want to get into some of the kind of the nitty gritty of the actual, purchase, like how you got into it, if you don't mind. And then we can go and kind of talk a bit more about like what you're doing today as far as marketing and things like that. So when you first, because it's an amazing story of like how you just like 2 weeks, like I was just gonna say, like, how did you go about doing that? Like what sparked, was there kind of an entrepreneurial bug between, you and your husband? You wanted to do something different, because like even just purchasing a summer camp, people don't normally do that every day. So what kind of put you in a position, a mental framework that you were just ready to go and make this move in as fast time as you did?
Yeah, so we've had an auto repair business for a long time, and my husband, so we've been in the business world for about almost 20 years now. And I grew up also, my parents were both entrepreneurs as well. So for me, starting a business, like that's just kind of what you do. But being a teacher, I had done it for almost 20 years, and it was time for a change. And I did hear there was a lady who she's when like they interview people who've hit 100, they'll say, what's your secret to success or life? And she says every 10 years she would make a big change in careers, because she said that you learn new skills, it keeps your brain fresh. And so I was like, maybe I'm just due for a change. And so when that opened up, when the property became available, we loved it instantly, and we had no plans on moving. So when people saw our house went for sale and we moved, no one knew what was going on. It was just kind of a big fluke. My son had to change school districts. It was a lot within just a short period of time, and people were really excited for us, and the town was super excited. So the Brookledge is actually in the town called Providence. When they found that we bought it and it wasn't going to be turned into an RV park, the community just rallied behind us. They were very supportive. Our neighbor helped us with excavation work. Greg's been amazing. And just the town itself was all about helping us. They were happy that we were keeping the buildings. They were happy the trees were staying. So it's been a really easy transition as far as making the purchase. There's no zoning here in Providence.
That was going to be my next question, is about zoning and permitting and things like that.
Yeah, so I just went to the planning board. We shared our plan, and they were very familiar with the property because the previous people that were going to buy it, there was a lot of, that's what I want to say. There was a lot of people in the community that weren't thrilled with it. So their planning board meetings were often, and it took almost a year. So they were very familiar with the project. So when I said, no, there's no campers, no, we're leaving the buildings, they were thrilled with it. And they made the process extremely easy. And there was a lot of things already on the property that accommodated groups of people because it was a summer camp. So the water system was already set. Like the one issue we have though was it was designed for a summer camp because the summer camp would close. So the water, we've actually had to retrench everything because the water isn't deep enough to run in the winter. So that's been one of the things we're working on. And we've just finished one of the trenches a few weeks ago. So now we have running water in one of the bathhouses, but that's been the big thing. It was designed for just seasonal use. But the town's been amazing. The permit process couldn't have been easier. They were amazing, like absolutely amazing.
How did you go about funding the deal?
We sold our house.
Okay, all right, that works.
Yeah, we sold our house, and we've used our savings and done everything we've been able to. We've done a lot of the work ourselves. We've had friends and family helping, and anything that we aren't able to do ourselves, we've relied on the community. So our contractor lives right down the road. He's actually helping us with the lodge right now. And like I said, our neighbor Greg has done a lot of the excavation work, and he's been amazing. So anything that we haven't been able to do, we've hired out. But
that's
a lot of it from this, and we were lucky because our house sold when the market was crazy.
Yeah.
And that really helped us out as far as being able to fund the project.
Got it. Did you need to involve any other banks, SBA, anything else? Okay, cool.
Yeah, we were really lucky in that. We were really lucky in that sense.
That's huge. Yeah, anytime you don't have to do that, like you prefer that. But I know depending on the property, depending on, the finances of it, sometimes,
That's why we live in the nurse's office. Like,
makes sense.
Like, let's be real, this isn't like where I would have chosen to live forever. But that's why we did it. We had to sell our house in order to do all the renovations. So that's why we moved into the nurse's office, and this was the only building that was winterized. So that's why we ended up in this one.
Got it. That makes total sense. Do you anticipate moving out of that? Are you going to kind of dig in more at that property? What's your kind of gut on that?
So it's funny. All the buildings are within like 10 acres of the property. So there's 50 acres that are just like nature trails and just wooded. So we discovered a spot in the way back that is up higher, and you can see the Vermont mountains. Like, you can see so far, it's beautiful. So our goal is someday to build over there. But right now things are really expensive. And we're going to wait until everything is done here, and that hopefully lumber and things like that will come down and be a little more reasonable. So we'll be here possibly another year or two, maybe more. We'll see how things go. But that is the plan, is that we would build in the back.
Got it. That's so cool. I mean, this story is just so inspiring, and so I love that you found this property that you loved. You guys took a chance. You guys, sold the house that you had and kind of really upset at the current situation you had, but you're doing it to create something amazing and something beautiful and something that serves people. And I absolutely love that. So then take me through now. You started kind of getting into the wedding industry because of some folks who just said, hey, I love the property. Can we get married there? And so now you're realizing, okay, we're going to do more weddings. Are you really pivoting more towards weddings? Are you going to kind of still keep it some other types of events, maybe some summer activities still, or what's your thought process on the types of clients you're going to serve?
That's a great question. Originally, the property was going to be used for short-term rentals. We were kind of inspired. There's another place called Camp Wandawega. I don't know if you ever heard of them. If you haven't, definitely check them out. They were an old summer camp. They are, I believe, in Wisconsin on a lake, and they do short-term rentals and they do events. And my original thought was, I'm not a wedding coordinator. I don't know that kind of stuff. So I was just going to rent the property and allow people to use it for personal things like family reunions and things like that. Well, we had our first bride, Katie, who is just amazing. So she's actually, her wedding is coming up next year. And she came to the property when it was like at its worst. And she's like, I love it. So I was like, are you sure? She said, yeah. And I said, well, if you are willing to stick with me in this process, I will be happy to have a wedding with, and do that for you. I said, but what I'd love for you to do is walk me along through the steps. It's been a while since I've done a wedding for myself. I just did one 20 years ago with my husband. That was, not doing another one soon. So I asked her, can you give me advice as we're building this place? And we will give you a deal. So that's what we did. And she has been amazing. She has come to paint picnic tables. She's come and actually helped out on the property. And I knew her mom when I was a teacher. So we were thrilled. When she started talking about it, it made me realize, wait a second, this is the type of place I would have wanted to get married at. Come along, Danielle and Eric, who got married here this summer, and they loved it as well. And so it just made me realize that there are people who want nature. They want places where their family can stay, and they want to be able to do a whole weekend. So that's what we're giving our guests. They can check in on Friday, they can stay till Sunday, and they can do everything here. And they loved that it was close to Saratoga, but yet far enough away that you don't have the Saratoga prices, because it's very expensive in Saratoga. And that's kind of how it happened. Katie and her ideas of her dream wedding is what we've been building. She talked about how she wanted to get married in the woods. We happened to be walking one day and found a fireplace from the 1800s that was there. It's an old stone fireplace. So we're building a wooden walkway and creating a camp chapel. And so she has been she's really kind of guided me. She's been my own personal Pinterest board, because she's designing her wedding, and what she's sharing are things that brides are looking for. So that's been really helpful. And having the ones that we've done this summer, we now know what we need to fix, what we need to tweak, what we need to adjust. One of the things I really needed was some type of software system to help me manage the inquiries and keep track of the steps that we're at. And somebody actually on your podcast had recommended Weavin, and we checked it out and loved them. And they've been so easy to work with. So those types of things are things that we've had to adjust, but it's getting there. But it's super helpful to have Katie.
That's awesome.
To have a you can just ask a question, send a picture to is unbelievable.
I think that's a good lesson for a lot of the venue owners on here. You're taking the feedback because you want the feedback and you need the feedback, right? And this is kind of a new path for you. But I think a lot of times as venue owners, or, in my case, operating these venues, sometimes it's easy to not listen as closely as maybe we could to our couples and the things that they want, the things that they're looking for. We have kind of the things that we provide, the packages we provide, and whatever it is. But I love that you're doing that, because you are going to create something that is for people who want exactly what you have. And I think that's totally brilliant.
Well, thanks. And I'm not out there saying I'm the expert. And I think the fact that they knew that ahead of time makes it easier for me to ask them questions, because they know that we are a new venue, and they're okay with that. They're like, no, it's okay. And they've loved following the transformation of the place as well. So that's been kind of fun to share the story.
So how many brides do you currently have booked, let's say for 2023?
Yeah, so 2023, we have 8 events scheduled. We have weddings, and then we have an amazing family reunion that's 300 people. So we've welcomed not just weddings, and we have work retreats that we do too, where we have a vet office that rented the whole place for the weekend and are doing it for the whole staff. So that's kind of nice. That it gives us a variety and allows us also to expand a bit, because we're still new. And then my goal is, when the lodge is done, that we will then have also a space for year round, So we will be able to do like smaller, more intimate type things, and also like bridal showers, baby showers, bachelorette parties, having that option as well. So that'll give us a revenue stream the other part of the year.
On that side of the year, absolutely.
Yeah.
How many events are you looking to? So, like, if you're at 8 right now, weddings. I mean, do you want to do 100 plus? I mean, where's your head at?
No, I don't. What I'm hoping, so I actually just hired a wedding coordinator. Her name's Brooke. She's amazing. So she'll be starting with us next year. And really, I'm hoping to have 20 to 30 for the first year. And the reason for that is these are really big deal events for people. And I want to make sure that I do a great job, and I want to make sure that they love it. And I don't want to stretch myself thin and my small staff thin. And because we're new, I can't hire all the people that I would love to have. So we're going to just start smaller. And then for 2024, we'll then be able to build up. And it'll also give me a chance to see as well what we're going to need to hire on top of what I have. So I do have a small staff with me now. They're absolutely amazing, and they're super loyal, and they love this place as much as I do. And it's not just everybody that wants to work out in the woods, you know.
Yes.
You have to have somebody that loves that. And Kim and Christine, like, they're just unbelievable. So I'm fortunate in that I'm surrounded by amazing people, but I know that we're going to need more, and I want to just start slowly so that I think it's really important that if we have all these events and they don't go well, that's not going to look good on us. So I do want to make sure I'm starting slowly and I'm doing a really good job.
Totally. And grow organically.
Yeah. And growing appropriately.
Totally. So you're thinking 2030 for next year. I guess my question was more, what's the top, limit? Like, do you want to keep it kind of not forever, but like,
going forward?
Yeah, going forward, year 3, year 4, year 5, is there a certain limit that you kind of want to cap things out on? Have you thought about your kind of maximum capacity?
Well, the hard part is the larger events we can only do from April to October, because November we get snow here and it gets cold. So having the lodge will allow me to have more events. The lodge will be completed in April. So I'm curious to see the theme of the lodge is an indoor treehouse. So you feel like you're in a treehouse. There's trees and everything. And I'm curious to see how the community responds to that building, to see if it is enjoyed. So I'm hoping in the winter time we'll have more events, and I'd love to have the winter completely booked with smaller events. So if I were to do smaller events and bigger events, I'd say around 100 would be great.
And it sounds like a lot of it depends on how much you can get through the seasonality of it. What is the season there? I mean, you said it's kind of November is when you start getting snow. Where does that end?
So October is actually our busiest wedding month over here, because the brides love the colors of the trees. So September and October are the busiest. And then the middle of the summer, some of the brides avoid August and July because of the racetrack season. That brings like another 20,000 people to the area, and it just makes it really hard for lodging. So some of them avoid that, but that's kind of in our favor because we are a little outside of Saratoga and we have the lodging. That's why some of the people booked with us, was for that reason. So really April is chilly. And most people don't have a wedding in April outside here. So really it would be May through October.
Got it.
Yeah.
You mentioned the influx of people for the races, and then, the lodging on site. How many people can you accommodate on site, sleeping wise?
So right now, without using the Glamp ADK or having additional things, we are between 20 and 30.
Oh, got it. But like, that's a fantastic amount. I mean, you can get a large bridal party, you can get several families, that's great.
Yep. And I'm hoping down the road to be able to add more to that. But once we add more, we have to, then our permitting changes. So then we fall under a campground license. So anytime you have so many dwellings, if you go beyond that, you have to do campground licensing, and you have to have more community water. And that just means you have to have like a testing process and things like that. So we're waiting until everything's done, and then we'll start that next process to bring more lodging in.
Totally. Wow. I love this. I'm so excited. The idea of just like this indoor tree house, like just everything. It's very cool. And I love this. I love what you're doing. I'm excited to kind of see you continue to grow. Talk to me a little bit about what you're doing right now as far as marketing. Like, how are you reaching brides? How are brides finding you? Couples, their families, are you on Instagram, Facebook? Like, where are you? Are you doing paid ads?
I'm not really doing any paid ads at the moment because we're just trying to grow small. I know that's not what most business owners want to do. They want to get as many as they can. But we're still finishing up, like I said, the lodge and some building things. So we're keeping it small. And the hard part is I don't have a lot of pictures because we had just a handful of events. I keep saying, I wish I had a picture of this. But that part wasn't done when we had, so-and-so got married. So I think I will do more of the paid marketing and things like that once we have more pictures. But what I'm going to be doing is in January, we are going to be attending a wedding expo and doing that. Facebook and Instagram has been super helpful because we have been posting pictures and people have been following the journey and seeing like what's getting fixed and the plans. So that's been really helpful. And a lot of it's been word of mouth. People who have attended events and have two of the weddings that we had booked for next year were because they had attended weddings or events from last year. Oh, so wow. A lot of it has been word of mouth and things like that, which is the kind of business you want.
Totally. Because you have people who are coming to the property who already are almost sold on it because they've experienced a bit and they want it kind of for their own. I love that. Mm-hmm. One of my friends and someone who's been on the show for a number of different times, Kristen Binford, and she does venue coaching and things like that. She has been talking a lot about how there's a perfect marriage kind of between a venue that is looking and trying to understand the market and what the market needs and giving the market what it needs, rather than just kind of building it, kind of proceeding with a build it and they will come mentality, but giving the market actually what it needs. And, that looks different for each area. But I think that you've really hit on something that is awesome here because people do want that experience. And, a lot of times if it's like a banquet hall or something like that, it's hard to make it look totally different every time. Like you can do it different with the colors and things like that. But at your property, sky's the limit. You could have, different places you could get married. So speaking of that, the different places on the property, is there one kind of dedicated ceremony space, one kind of dedicated reception space, or are there a number of different sites that you can get married at and actually have the ceremony at?
Yeah, so there are two places that happened by accident that the brides have liked. One is by the pond. So there's a pond called the Ice Bucket. I did not call it that. It's what the girls called that during summer camp. So the name is stuck. That pond has like a little waterfall feature. So you always hear the running water. And so, and it has stairs that my friend had built when I attended his wedding years ago for his bride. And they're still there. So that is one of the spots. And that is more for a smaller wedding. So if you have over 100 people, that space isn't going to be great. I would like to expand that space. The other one is that fireplace I was saying. So before this place was a summer camp, German families from New York City would come and vacation here. And this fireplace must have been in a house, but it's big old stones that they found in the property, and they created this big stone fireplace. And the house is gone, but the fireplace is still there. It's completely surrounded by trees, and there's a stream that runs behind it. And Katie, when I showed it to her, she's like, I want to be in the woods and I want like a dark, moody kind of vibe. And when I showed her that, she said, yes, I'm sold. So we have been fixing that space up. So that will have permanent benches. It will have a wooden walkway so that the bride's dress doesn't get dirty, like walking on the trails. And the fireplace is usable, so you can light a fire in there, put candles or things like that. So that we're calling the Camp Chapel, and that will be able to accommodate 200 people easily.
Wow. That sounds so cool. I can't wait till there are pictures of this. I see it as you're communicating it. I can't envision it, but I'm so excited to see pictures of it and kind of as you continue to do this. You mentioned your team a couple of times. Who do you currently have? I know you mentioned some names, but what are the positions? What do you have people doing? Kind of who are some of the first people you hired?
So the first person I hired was that's been helping me out is Christine. So Christine helps because while we were doing this and in between the events, people can rent the cabins and stay. So she's been helping us to turn over the cabins. She's helped us with like painting and helping us build things. So she's been assisting with that. Brooke, who we hired as the wedding, will be our wedding coordinator. So she'll just be helping me with the managing of it. She has, not more knowledge than I do in this field. And she's going to be assisting. It's funny because I keep talking to her and saying, what do we need for this expo? What should we make it look like? So she's been the big help. And then we have the contractor who's working on all the renovations for us. And then the groundwork, the amount of excavation work we needed all new roads. We need trees to be removed that if you don't maintain your forest, I've learned this, the trees become unsafe. So he has helped us with making sure that there aren't any trees that would be harmful. He's been helping us with the digging trenches and moving buildings and all kinds of things. So that's been my team at the moment. I know I want to add more to my team. I know we're going to need to add more assistants and wedding kind of coordinators. But that's why we're going to start small and see what we need to go from there. And I'm really lucky with the vendors that we have. We have some amazing vendors. We have photographers, we have officiants, we have florists, caterers. So we've been really fortunate in that sense with our vendors.
Do you have all of those vendors kind of in like a preferred vendor list type format, or are they people who have exclusive contracts on the property? How does that work for you guys?
I want to give brides and grooms an option. And so I these are recommendations, but what's nice about that Weave-In program is that it recommends vendors, but it gives the bride and groom all the information they need, their website, and they can look at all the different vendors, but it does allow them to have different ones. But these are the ones that have done events with us. They're ones that I trust, and many of them I've known for a really long time. So
got it. So they already know the area. They kind of know how to deliver a good experience, especially as you guys are growing and evolving.
Yeah, and our venue is not the type of place that's for every type of vendor. So you do have to have knowledge with how to do photography in the woods where there might not be a lot of lighting. So there's different things like that, and they've shown that they can handle that and are comfortable with that and have the proper equipment. Same thing with like a floral arrangement. The type of floral arrangement you would have in a humongous banquet hall isn't necessarily going to work where we are, because you're competing with nature. That you have all the running water and the beauty. If you get married in the fall, you got all the beautiful foliage. So you have to know to use things that are kind of that would make sense to be here. So if you're like as beautiful as orchids are, it's not going to work, so it has to go with the property. And so a lot of our florists actually grow their own flowers and they're native to the area. So it works with it.
That's huge.
I don't know if that makes any sense, but our venue is just different. And a lot of the brides are choosing not to bring in some of those things. Like they're just letting the outdoors speak for itself.
Totally. Yeah, you have to have a vendor team that complements the property. Like a vendor who is prepared to do a 500-person event in a pavilion may not be the same type of vendor that's prepared to navigate a bunch of terrain and,
Correct.
So yes, very, very familiar with that. Well, this has been really, really fun, like hearing about this, learning about this. Where would you say is kind of the best place to reach out to you if, people find this podcast, they want to reach out to you personally, or maybe they want to, check out the space for an event?
Yeah, absolutely. So we do have a website, and I'm sure you'll include that all in like your show notes and things, but we do have a website. It's Brookledge NY. And you need the NY because there's a Brookledge horse transportation company. So NY stands for New York. And we are also on social media. We're on Instagram and Facebook. I've attempted TikTok. I know you've been talking about TikTok. I've attempted it. I'm not there yet with TikTok, but I'm working on it. I know it's the next, social media platform that a lot of us should be adapting and incorporating, but we'll see. But most of our stuff is social media and Facebook, and it's really just the journey of this place at the moment. And we do showcase some of the events we had last year and the weddings. So, but yeah, if you want to see kind of where the Treehouse Lodge when it finally is ready and all that fun stuff.
Amazing. Okay, well, I know I'm going to be following along, and I would love to stay in touch and, get a second interview scheduled, for a year or, a year and a half in the future to kind of see as these things are coming to fruition and how, your journey is progressing. I think that'd be really, really neat to kind of hear as you're learning some of these different things and as you're working with the vendors in your area and getting the experience of these weddings. It's such a cool industry, and I love the passion that you have and the excitement that you have as you're doing this. And I know it's difficult at times, but it is really cool, and I'm excited for you and what you're building.
Thank you so much. And I have to say your podcast has been super helpful. So thank you for what you're doing and for the people who are taking the time to come on and share their process and their resources and tools. For people like me who are new in the industry, it's beyond valuable. So thank you.
That's awesome. I know it's been fun here. Like this venue owner series has been special because it's like, you can talk to people who work with venues, but there's nothing like actually talking to someone who's doing it. They're on the ground every single day. They're just handling the challenges, the struggles, but then there's also things that they do better than anyone else. And so that's what we like to highlight. But Helen, thank you so much for hopping on today. And for everyone else, we will be putting all of the show notes in the description on YouTube. So if you're watching this on YouTube, or like you said, Helen, if you're listening on podcast, you can navigate to the podcast description and go ahead and check out the beautiful venue there in New York. So thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.